good morning, and good morning. How are you doing? It is Wednesday. Wednesday, what did it say? Hump day. It is. It's midweek, So there's some things you did on Monday and Tuesday. Hope you had a good time on Monday. I did. I kind of was quiet, and I got some things done. I've given myself a few projects this summer that are in my house and not outside the house. So, or around the house. I also did some I'm gonna say potting of plants. I did that kind of stuff. So I'm having fun. I'm just enjoying my life as a person who's doing what I want to do, doing exactly what I want to do. But good morning, good morning. Summertime is the time when teachers, here's the educator that I am, get a chance to rest. They can rest and renew themselves for the next phase of teaching other people's children things that they should know. But we as parents also should be, and I say should be, obligated to making sure on those months that children are not in school, and it's down to like 2.5 months to 3 months of non-engagement with an instructor, who basically is saying these things are needed for your child to move ahead. And so I happen to be invited to an event last weekend, and there was this lovely little boy there named JQ. And JQ and I, he finally called me Miss Winnie, no, Dr. Winnie, and he's only 2, but he is absolutely adorable. His speech is wonderful. You can tell he speaks in full sentences. 2. And I started looking up what is the critical and the what is the criticalness and the attributes that come with teaching early, teaching children as still almost as soon as they come out of the womb. You got an opportunity, because they said the brain is so absorbent at that time. So that made me be excited, and I happen to have gone to a store called Ollie's on Monday after having my little encounter with this little guy. And I said, not just STEM, but STEAM. STEAM over the course of a summer, that the child is not, your children are not in, or grandchildren, great grandchildren are not in a learning environment, then you need to be the possessor, the originator, the orchestrator of the learning environment. And how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, I found this book, and they had a few more there at Ollie's, and it's called 52 Weeks of Preschool. Okay, now I'm talking about the preschool because I'm looking at the young children who have these absorbent minds, but then there's the older children who still need to be constantly engaged so they don't lose some of what they've learned over the year. And they said there's some kids who are already struggling, will have great difficulty getting back into school and understanding that, okay, I need to read, I need to write, I need to understand mathematics, all these things. So anyway, this one is called STREAM. And STREAM, I'm going to go through what it stands for, but we mostly talk about STEM, and STEM, of course, would be science, engineering, let's see, science, technology, engineering, and math. But there's another one that's been added. And I think it's really the area of creativity. Okay, it's where kids can come up with things. Good morning, Joan. That really makes them excited about having something. And this is called 52 weeks. So that means every week there is a new opportunity to learn something. That's also us. Let's face it. We, as over the weekend, I taught a class called Women. Good morning, Ardelia. I taught a class at our church called Women Working While Aging Well. The title is good. Those of us who still continue. Good morning, Miss Polly. How are you? Welcome, 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 my three beautiful ladies. Thank you so much for coming in. The importance of us continuing to put information in allows us to put information out. But if we sleep all the time, if we do nothing all day long, if we don't exercise, if we don't try to eat as best as we can, if we don't socialize, we have to have friends. We need family and friends. Even if you don't have a family, make up a family. Come up with somebody. I'm like an auntie to a lot of people's kids. I've never known my other siblings with them because we're not biologically connected. Nonetheless, it's important for us to look at life as a way of how can we continue to live our lives. So I found the book's theme, and I also found this thing that maybe if you have daughters, sons, grandsons, granddaughters, somebody, even if it's a neighbor's child, ask them what are they doing over the summer to stay wise, to stay in the game, to stay in the know. Every day we should be learning something that we did not know yesterday. Every day. And that's all of us. That means throughout the ages. It doesn't matter because the mind and the brain are absorbent. You put information in, guess what? You can retain it if you figure out how you can go about retaining it. Repeat it, write it down, make it where it's your basic, your mantra, something that you can stand on every day. One of the things I did, even when I decided that I wanted my doctorate, and I told this years ago, is I saw some people in some doctoral regalia, and I said, that's me, but that doesn't look like me. So I cut the woman's face out. Oh, yes, I did. I cut her face out and put my face where her face was. And I plastered it on my computer, on my refrigerator, on my bathroom mirror. You have to sometimes imagine yourself doing what you want to have done and what you want to complete. So I did that. But anyway, let me read this poem I found. It says, Science for the People Towards. And it says, innovative solutions for sustainable development, technology for human society. That's us. Do we dream of life that is so happy, where food abounds and likes vary? There is much to learn with good intentions. Increase awareness and stop destruction. A drive to become a mother of invention. Provide a vision to fulfill our mission. Imagine people living harmoniously, humanitarian all forms and free of poverty. Discrimination does not exist and we promote equality. Respect. Let us show more respectability. Everybody should contribute for the love of humanity. Our living environment shows how progressive we can be. In terms of respect, we should not forget how God entrusted us all things without regret. Who is human without formal wisdom? It says, for why should a majestic scene be turned into flames? It says, pillage and robbery. Yes, we raped its innocence. We have to follow a process and use our common sense. It says, life alone is in danger of gradual extinction. Technology is resolving this urgent situation. Medical breakthrough contributes to human transformation. I've never really had a poem that was written on the technical side and really looking at life as we don't just see it as being so marginal and so minimized, but we see it as being grandiose. We see it as taking in everything, learning more about who we are, extending ourselves so that we know about who others are, so that we don't have time to criticize and we don't have time to be cruel. We just have time to live. And how else can we live our lives forward and be good and learned if we don't teach the skills that we should pass on to others, that they also should be learned? That's how conversations begin. That's how conversations grow. That's how we grow as people. That's how I feel our world could grow. And this was uploaded by Jocelyn Sosa Agustin. And I found it on scribd.com, and it says poetry documenting technology for human society. So that's where I found it yesterday. Um, but let me talk about STEAM, because we need STEAM too. I believe that STEAM is just that kind of thing that allows us to keep moving. It's not just in, like the steam that comes out of your pot when you're boiling, water for coffee or tea. It's the steam of life. It's the fact that we continue to move forward. So I've taken an acronym. I've taken a word that we know as a vapor or a mist or whatever, and I've made it more substantiated by the realization of we need our own steam. We each should have our own steam. We should be instilling it in children and grandchildren, but we should have our own. We should have a way of knowing how to go forward, how to talk, how to be, how to constantly learn something that we didn't know before, but we know now. So anyway, steam. I'm going to ask you this question. Occasionally, do you run out of steam? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I think the persons that go home and sit down and do nothing have run out of steam. Sometimes we can't share in a conversation because we don't know enough about the information. We'll stay there long enough, you'll learn something. And then when it's time to talk, you can add something that may be influencing the conversation as the others are sharing as well. So anyway, steam. It says steam is the vapor into which water is converted when heated, forming a white mist of mineral water droplets in the air. It says it is water, it is condensation, it is vapor, it is mist, it's fog. It says it's moisture, it's smoke, and it's fumes. You think about that. Mist is powerful because what does it do? It spreads around. Okay, it doesn't stay in one place. That's us. We don't want to stay in one place. We don't want to be sedentary and non-movable and non-available to ourselves and others. We want to make it where we're able to, live life to our fullest, understanding what STEAM could mean for us. And so when I break the word down this morning, I'm breaking it down according to what they say in the STEAM book, but also what you might say how it may apply to you and those you love or those you talk to, those you want to know, those you may not know. How does it jive with all of that? So when I break it down this morning, I'm going to start with my S. My S is for science. Okay. So what is science? For some people, we get stopped on the words themselves. We get stopped on science. We may even get stopped on some of the other words I'm going to mention, but science, it says it's a systematic study of structure and behavior of a physical and natural world through observation. And it's so funny. I remember barely making it through biology in high school, only because I was afraid of the frogs and all the little insects and stuff, because I'm just not a buggy person. Okay. But eventually I was able to get it. Eventually, once I was conquering my fear, conquering the unknown. How many of us we need to conquer unknown? Skill? Yes. Skill. We have to adapt to it. We have to adapt to it. And skill is a wonderful word because skill is what probably is involved with anybody that's looking at giving them an opportunity to work in science. Because science talks about skill, but it also talks about it being wisdom. The person that's scientific in thought, they're wise. It says there's a level of expertise, especially if they stay in the area. And it's one of the areas, like along with math and some of the other areas I'm mentioning, is where the money is. What I did for the federal government is that I was the one who really looked at how well, military members are prepared for their transition into the civilian workforce. That was my study for my doctoral degree. And what I found out is many of them were not, because there was a falseness in terms of their thinking process, because the military had prepared them. But the American Legion, after military members got out and they started pretty much voicing their being dissatisfied with the federal government, they said they didn't do enough because they didn't tell them what was all the way on the outside. All they did is make them concentrate what was on the inside of what they did for military members. Well, let me tell you, I believe that every opportunity you have to be in a spot here, you still need to be looking forward. I don't care who you are. What else is out there? What else is there? How can I take what I have here and transition it into a higher form where I'm being recognized for my expertise, being understood that I have some information that other people may need, may want, and may just want to collaborate with me on. Sacrifice. Ooh, that's good too, Joan. Oh my goodness. I think anybody who's probably been in some of these areas like science realize there's a matter of sacrifice that goes in to the skills that they automatically will end up with. So anyway, so science also talks about knowledge, information, data, literacy, because you have to be literate in order to really understand science. Okay, you have to read, and then you have to understand what things are being shown by the data that you may be collecting. What is it that you're finding? You know, it also talks about it being a learning process and an opportunity to show intellect, intelligence, and being factual about it. You know, I'm always talking about I want to do a study. And obviously, in order to get a doctoral degree, you have to do a study. And my study, as I already just told you, was that. But what I found out, my study revealed that military people were not interested beyond, just getting out. They just wanted to get out and live a life of, not having to be up at 6 a.m., not having to be, forced to exercise and forced to keep a routine and doing their due diligence to make sure that they fit all of the qualifications to remain in the military. The civilian workforce didn't work like that. How many people have probably slept long past when they should have been working? Okay. Let go of because they could not maintain. They couldn't do what they were supposed to do. Okay, study, Ardelia, that's really wonderful. We do have to study. When we move on in the word of STEAM, so it's science, the T is for technology. A lot of times we like, which is to me closely related to science, when we first got computers, all of us were just like, a deer in the headlight. We did not know anything about the computer. But ultimately, we not only did we learn, but we were forced to learn, And as I said, for younger people, when you see your grandparents, your great grandparents, even your parents, being somewhat behind or left behind, help them, show them the things they need to know. I think I was talking about a checkbook. I think in another couple of years, there will not be a checkbook. Everything will be done by ACH, everything, which means that they will end up being done electronically. And so if we don't learn what the requirements for having an electronic draft and a withdrawal and payments, we will be left behind. We'd be left behind. Let's see. Tolerance. Oh, that's good. Joan, that's good. We need to be tolerant. We need to be tolerant of what we don't know, but also who other ones are with us that don't know. Let's learn together. Let's learn together. So technology is the manner of accomplishing a task, especially using technical process, methods of knowledge. It says it's going to be the innovation. And I remember every time they would change, every time I would learn a program and they would change it, it would just tick me off because they would change different things on the toolbar, on the, in the area of where you actually would write. I would just be crazy until I just was forced to out and out learn it. So then I took the Microsoft classes to make sure I understood PowerPoint and all of the different ones that they have, Word, and even I remember doing publishing. I liked publishing. Publishing was kind of fun. So I learned publishing as well. It was one of the tools that they had that came with the Microsoft Office. Well, now Microsoft Office now tries to sell you that stuff separately. And then every year they try to charge you more money. Well, the reason that is because they're going to change some things, which forces you to learn some things. You understand it? You know, so technology talks about it being innovation. It's a mechanism. It's a form of what I would call shape up and shape out. You got to learn it. You got to learn it. It is equipment. It's a device. Our computers are devices. Those little phones that we carry around, that is a computer that you are carrying with you everywhere you go. It's basically got all your life in it, all your life. So it's an invention. Technology is that invention that goes on all the time. There's something being changed as we're speaking, something that we used to know how to do, and all of a sudden we have to learn a new way to do it. It talks about the hardware, the apparatus, the software, and they're all changing. And it talks about the applications. And they interchange some of these words. They kind of get mixed up. They said, oh, yeah, that used to be the software. Now we call it the application. Okay. It's the instrument, the electronics, and the computerization. So technology is important. It is. And tolerance, being tolerant of ourselves until we learn it, and tolerant of others, trying to help them as best we can, would be wonderful. When we move on in the word of STEAM, so we don't run out of it in our lifetime, and what we certainly should be working on with our grandchildren and children over the summer. Don't let them run out of steam. Give them stuff that stimulates their minds and makes it where they are excited about a new project. I used to do experiments with my daughter for different projects. I remember we did one that was what will dissolve in water. And I mean, I had dirt, I had sugar, I had honey, you name it, milk. And, I said, well, let's work on it and see if you can get credit when you go to school. So she did. She took it to school and she did it. She got a good grade on it. But I had her tell me what it was that did she have a question about what would dissolve in water. It was really fun. Expedite. That's good. Expedite is really good. You think about it. How expeditious should we be to make sure we learn as much as we can, so that we won't be on the backside of the knowledge area. Sometimes we have to be, only because the kinks have to be worked out of it, and it's difficult to learn. Let's face it, some things are just absolutely difficult to learn. We move on in the word of our STEAM. We talk about engineering, which expedite comes to. We need to be expeditious, as I was saying. So engineering is the application of science. Now look at that, science and mathematics, okay, by which the properties of matter and the sources of energy in nature are made useful to people. Engineering. Engineering was never an area that I remember when I was coming along, women were never given engineering. We were never given that science, engineering, or mathematics. We were more in what I would call the softer skills. It may have been that they were telling us that we should go into maybe art, maybe some creativity there. Also, secretarial stuff, and I never wanted it. And of course, teaching, which is what I ended up with now. I started in an area which I probably would have done well in, but which was music. But I ended up with a teaching degree, K through 12, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So you have to figure out what's for you. Hey, good morning, Miss Rosie. How are you doing, my friend? Good to have you in the space. Love you. So engineering is those things, and it talks about engineering being one of management, manipulation, sometimes government controlled, and it says it's administration. When you think about engineering, there's some things that have to be done according to whatever the regulations are. How is it handled? Who does it? Um, it talks about it being a period of people being in leadership. Hey, Stacy, how are you? Listening from Singapore. That's my friend. That's the president after me of my Rotary Club. Hey, babe. How is it? Oh, it looks wonderful. I mean, so beautiful there. Thank you for sharing your pictures. Oh, I can't wait. You got to give a report. All right. But anyway, thank you. So we have handling, leadership, guidance, supervision, and control. When we're really looking at, how well are we situated as it responds to engineering? Where are we at? You know, are we the ones? Oh, yeah, I heard it was hot over there. Are we the ones to really be involved in being a part of that engineering section? Probably not, for me. Um, but I think as I've gotten older, I probably could challenge myself on being much more interested in science, in math, and engineering. I think I'd have made a good engineer, but not until I got old. Because when I was younger, I just didn't have the mindset to believe that I had that capability. And that's why they said children should be exposed to things early. Let them be exposed, let them hear, see, have an opportunity to experiment, even on little scale, and then have them plan what they want to try for the next week. So every week have a new thing. Um, so anyway, engineering also talks about it being one of supervision and one of control and oversight. So when you think about things that are involved in engineering, you want it to be right. You want it to be right because it may have a long lasting effect. The bridges that are made, the houses that are constructed, all of those things have engineering oversight. And so you want things to be right, as I said. Now, the thing that makes STEAM different from STEM is that the A they place in STEAM is art. Wow, art, an occupation requiring skillful use of someone's hands. But to me, I also think it could be crafty. It could be that they're painters. It could be that they're sculptors. It could be that they're designers, like the people that do and work with textiles, even though they're not given the classification of engineering, excuse me. They are when you're starting to put things together that were not together and you had parts and parts and parts, and all of a sudden an outfit is formed, music is written, paintings are hung up on walls or in museums, and and things have been sculpted to give like a depiction of how someone looks. That's awesome, Joan. Appropriate, yes. When we look at art is just that. It's craft, it's trade, it's skill. It says it's handcrafts where we're actually using your hands. It's a profession. I have a friend, in fact, the pictures behind me were done by a friend called Joseph Daniel. Eventually he started calling himself I Joseph, but I have the originals. Both of those are original paintings, and his work is just phenomenal. He's gone to Venice, and he painted great, beautiful scenery from what it was like while he was doing in a gondola, and just looking at all of the water surrounding the city of Venice. And his stuff is just gorgeous. Now, these were the originals, so I don't know what those paintings would go for that he's doing now, but I'm excited that I know what it is to see art in that form. Oh, thank you so much, Joan. I appreciate it. This one, let me see if I can move my head out the way. Let me see if I can push it back. This one there, let me see, there. is called Shoe Fly. And it was a depiction of his grandmother who was shucking beans. And the other one to my other side here, I have to figure out where my finger goes. Okay, that one is called Cotton Day, picking cotton. So yes, they're real reminiscent of times gone by, but also the realization that that was a period that America went through, and so he certainly has captured it in those pictures, and he truly was, I feel, an engineer of art. Excuse me, where he was able to put things together and make them come out very beautiful. Now my last letter is M, and M is for mathematics. And how many young people, especially women, when they were younger, and especially children from, say, under privileged areas, had trouble with math. I always thought I couldn't do math. Always. It says, but math is the art and the process of performing mathematical operations to find a value. You cannot beat that. Okay. But if you're afraid of it, just like we could be afraid of science. So manipulation. Okay. A message. Ooh, yes. Yes. All of those things. When we look at how things come together for us, we don't realize it sometimes until we're much older and we're much more able to take our time, to be patient, and to learn something that we didn't know before. So I say every day, do something, figure out something. So mathematics is this process of dealing with math, arithmetic, calculations. Like, to me, I always used to be worried about, how much money I had. And so for me, as I was coming up, I remember I did this bad deal, and it just remained in my memory all these years, where, we were selling candy at my school, and, it was for a trip or something. And I must have only been in, maybe 8th grade. And I was so excited to go to this lady's house named Miss Rita. And Miss Rita says, well, I want 6 boxes of candy. And I went skipping home, and I told my parents that I was just excited about this whole thing, that I had sold 6 boxes and I only had 4 boxes left because I had 10 boxes total. And my mother says, so where's the money? I said, oh, Miss Rita says she'll pay me next Friday. So my mother looked at me and she said, okay, if Miss Rita doesn't pay you and all the candy is gone, what kind of sale was that? Who was really sold something? She said, you will find that is not how you sell things. You have to have the money in your hand. No one gives something to someone and doesn't get, the money right away. Well, they had that thing that was just starting out called you can buy now, pay later. So I'm thinking it was that. And my mother said, not in small candy sales. That's not how it goes. So I ended up having to use my allowance, some little money. And it really wasn't allowance. My mother, father really didn't believe in that, but it was money that I had in order to pay for Miss Rita's candy. And they were only $1 a box, but it was $6 I didn't have to give to that, but I did, only because it was due. It was due. And I never got the money. So that was my lesson from then on, is that if I don't get my money, you don't get the merchandise. You don't get the merchandise. I always tell people now, if I give it to you, that means I just gave it to you. I don't want you to borrow it. I want you to borrow. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Except for my daughter. I make her give me my money back. So mathematics also talks about valuation. It talks about subtraction, addition, number crunching, all those kinds of things, which say that we know something about how life works, dealing with math, dealing with all the areas that we spoke on today. We need to look at things being meaningful. Thank you, Ardelia. Sometimes some of the things that you all write, I can't really read it. It doesn't come up on the screen until later. So if I don't see a word or I miss a word, I try to run down. It's not that I'm trying to avoid you. It's like I may not see it in the thread until later on. And sometimes it just threads funny. So it will thread where all of Joan's information may come together. And then so I don't know what happens on Facebook. All I know is that the platform I work from is StreamYard. There it is again, StreamYard. It says that goes for, I don't know, somebody, let me move this. Somebody messaged me, contractors as well. Finish the job, get paid at the end. Yeah, I've had a couple of them where somebody said, Ms. Winborn, I'll be back with all the supplies that I said I needed to buy in order to do the work. Never saw them again. The job never got done. So, you sometimes you have to be smart enough. So anyway, I'm hoping that if you have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, some children, get them this book for the summer, especially if they're preschool, because it has all kinds of fun projects for them to learn how to do. I'm giving this one away. I bought it for JQ and his little brother. So that's my intention with that one. But I look at STEAM and even STEAM doing really good for everyone. Just understanding the importance that we are not going to go back. We're going to go forward. We're going to continue to be dealing with things that are requiring us to be more than just someone who sits and never listens or sleeps and never hears. Okay? I love you. I love you. I love you. I appreciate all of you all for coming in. You don't have to pay anything here, but if you don't mind, hit that share button so that someone else will know that there is a Sandy out here that's trying to do something. Look at these glasses I found. They matched my outfit. And they're really good. So I'm seeing well this morning. But have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to see you on Friday with another Are You Stuck? You may be. And then again, you may get unstuck after talking to me or hearing me. All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye-bye.